Welcome to Crashing Game Night. My name is Matt Diorio. I welcome in my co-host, as always, Mr. Hollywood, Gerard Barrera.
Nerds. This is the podcast to be talking about. Hello, everyone. Hello, my fellow nerds. Thank you for joining us, and take it away, Matt. Thank you all. I'm just so excited for this one.
Is it just me, or did anybody else get like a little Hulk Hogan vibe as he was starting that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, at least it was not just me.
He's not wolf pack. He's more like pup pack.
Oh.
Womp womp.
And we're joined, as always, by the one Theo Walski.
What's up, everybody?
And our version of Kratos, Jason Belidio.
Wishes he was Kratos. Wishes
How's
he
it
was
going,
Kratos.
guys?
Boy, shave his head if he goes Kratos.
Boys.
Boy.
Come, boys.
How's
Me.
everybody doing?
Good, man. Had a nice little day off.
Oh, I'm lucky.
Took a nap. Enjoying that COVID.
During that
COVID life.
Enjoying that COVID life. Yup.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're starting to reopen our state.
No, man.
And what's worse is we had increases in cases, but a lot of it, though, here's the thing, though. I think this is the problem with Virginia, though, is a lot of those cases came from the far north, which is Alexandria and all the suburbs up below D.C. The rest of the state's fine. So I'm okay with down here in Richmond and all of that, them starting to slowly open things back up.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, we still had increases in cases, and we still haven't plateaued yet.
Man.
I
I feel like over here we had like a small dip and everyone was like, that's it. We can open everything up again because we had a dip. And
But that's always been our problem, dude. We've always been so impatient and like look at the protesters in Huntington Beach, man.
Okay, you want to talk about protesting,
hundreds
right?
of people.
They want to protesting
in front of the beach, wanting to open the beach.
Yeah.
Not even on the beach. Not even on the
No,
beach.
they weren't even on the beach. That's right. Oh my god.
So speaking of COVID ruining a lot of things, including Comic-Con, E3,
Evo.
today, the Boston Marathon, and Cheyenne Frontier Days, which Cheyenne Frontier Days is one of the biggest rodeos in the country. They both canceled their events this year for the first time in their history.
Wow.
Boston Marathon, first time in 124 years.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But, this is what's going on. So there's always next year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And with that has been the rise even further of Animal Crossing stuff hitting mainstream media. Dude, there was an article in Variety about Gary Whitta's show that we talked about last week, Animal Talking.
Mm-hmm.
They actually they literally said he's done something that, like, the Tonight Show, Late Show, Kimmel, and all that they can't do, which is have actual guests, have comedy and stuff, because it's living virtually. Nobody's actually can come into the studio. So
right.
Yeah.
I get it. We need to be safe, though. I mean, Virginia now, we are mandated now that we have to wear masks anywhere we go.
Oh, we've been in that for quite a while.
Yeah, we've been doing it for a while.
Ours goes into effect tomorrow, Friday, as we record this. So,
Yep.
Other than that,
I've usually been okay with the whole, because we've had, I think ever since the beginning, we've been required to have masks and gloves for Californians.
For a good portion of it.
Yeah, a good portion of it. And I've been okay with it for a while. Like I've been used to it. Now it's getting to the point where it's starting to annoy me, especially since I'm still working. So I'm wearing the mask and the gloves and trying to work, and then every once in a while I'm trying to get some clean air or some fresh air in my nose.
It's not even clean air. It's just
just fresh air. But it's just
to breathe a
it's
little.
starting to
Just
get
suck it up and brush your teeth. We know you don't want to be breathing in your own breath.
No,
Just brush your
it's
teeth.
not.
Oh,
dang.
that was a good one. Okay, that was good.
Theo.
Dude, you know what, Theo? He is a prime he's a prime candidate for an Orbitz commercial.
Oh.
Dang.
That's a good follow-up. I like that one.
Is there something I need to know? Am I not fresh? Do I have bad breath? Do I need to know something?
Bro, I can smell it from here.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Okay. I'm gonna get mouthwash. I'm gonna do a regimen. I'm gonna commit.
Jerry just busted out the bottle of mouthwash.
Gonna gargle it up.
So
Oh, let's not go there. Let's not open that can of worms.
yeah. So
Hey now.
let's talk some gaming, which is what we're all here for, other than to give Jerry crap. Square Enix finally dropped a date for Crystal Chronicles Remastered, which is the kind of the last of the big remasters that they've been working on. People have been waiting for. August 27th, it'll be coming to Switch, PS4, iOS, and Android. It is not going to Xbox One to start with. So I think, it's weird though, because if it's going to Switch and PS4 and it's not going to Xbox, that really kind of makes it a little weird. You would think that Xbox would be included in that. So
I think it ties up with the whole Kingdom Hearts and Nintendo thing. Square Enix is a little handcuffed lately with Nintendo and getting all those icons over to the Switch because the Switch has been blowing up so much.
I think it is. I think it is.
It's a
problem of
definitely.
licensing. Yeah.
No, it's not
Because
licensing, but it's just a strategic power move where you can see more of Final Fantasy things.
honestly,
or see more of Square Enix.
Let's look at it from that point though. Look at how many consoles the Switch has sold. Look at how many consoles the PS4 has sold. Look at how many consoles the Xbox One has sold. I mean, frankly, when your power base for a lot of your games is Japan, the Xbox One sells less than 40 units in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get it. I really do.
But it is partially exclusivity with Nintendo, and they've been doing a lot with Sony lately too, giving them exclusives. So,
well, yeah, with FF7 Remake, which we might have to talk about a little bit tonight.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Ooh.
We want to talk about that?
So let's talk about Xbox, since we were kind of really just talking about that. Xbox dropped a major bomb today. And for those that want to look at the full article, you can go to news.xbox.com to read the article. But it centers around backwards compatibility. And when I see this as a bomb too, is because fans have been clamoring for Sony to give us some more actual information about the PS5 other than Mark Cerny standing up there and giving a GDC presentation in front of cardboard cutouts.
I've never been more angry.
Yes, you have. And you had to apologize for it in front of the Square Enix booth.
Touche.
So, with regards to backwards compatibility, so backwards compatible games are going to run natively on the Xbox Series X. They're going to be able to take full advantage of full power of the CPU, GPU, and the SSD. There's going to be no boost mode and no downclocking, which that is huge because Sony's been trying to figure out a way to get backwards compatibility to run on the PS5. And their idea was to downclock the processor so it mimics the processor of the older console. Xbox is saying, screw it. We're going to make it run at the platform level, and who cares? Right. There's no downclocking. Because of all of that, they're saying that the games are going to have higher performance than their original console, so OG Xbox 360, Xbox One, which is going to lead to higher and more stable frame rates and rendering at a maximum resolution of visual quality. You're gonna see a reduction in load times due to the NVMe SSD that is at the heart of the Velocity architecture for the entire console. And that is something that the architecture we actually talked about back in February. So our listeners, you can go check out the article from back on February 24th about Xbox revealing their major features of the console. Another big feature is HDR is going to be enabled with zero impact to game performance, and it will work on all the backwards compatible titles, 360 and Xbox, which HDR was never around for that. Mm-hmm. Quick Resume is going to be enabled for all backwards compatible titles. And like I said, they're doing it at the platform level, which means no work by the studios, which for backwards compatible titles, a lot of work had to be done with the studios to get them to run on the newer platforms. Mm-hmm. So
that's
I know
a lot of
people,
power.
There is a lot of power in in the Xbox Series X. It's got more. Okay,
Mr. PC guy.
Mr. PC up in the corner there. We get it. But from a console perspective.
Yeah, sorry.
For consoles. It has power 2 years ago.
But I mean, honestly though, for someone that I would love to be able to play older PlayStation games on one console. So the fact that, Xbox is doing this for their backwards compatible library that is available right now is huge. Now, the only thing is I don't see PlayStation being able to do this on PS3 games though.
Probably not.
Because it was a different architecture completely. Yeah. It was a cell processor, different chipset and all that. But
because at least Microsoft has been smart and they've been building off of the same architecture for their chipset, but Sony has been changing it up every year. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean,
it's not necessarily bad because that can help with manufacturing and cheaper prices and stuff like that, and it might actually help out with the consumer. But I mean, if Microsoft can figure out like they have been, and it works out for the consumer in the long run.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, let's ask us this question: is it really that important when you're buying a new console? I mean, technically.
For backwards compatibility, I would say it's a huge thing. Yeah, that's absolutely. Huge.
I mean, as far as I would say, Xbox One games that I've recently bought or PS4 games that I've recently bought, that's something I would be looking for and I would be appreciative about. Yeah. But there are other services to play the older games. And the whole, for me, I don't necessarily go back to old PS1 or PS2 games all that much anymore. It's because I've moved on to the newer generations where these are going to be my focus.
Yeah, but you have to realize though, some of the nostalgia factor, the retroness right now is
it's booming. I get that, and there is an option for Sony. I'm just saying, I don't see that being a huge factor for Sony being worried. That's a great thing for Xbox. That's one thing for Xbox to have over Sony on top of maybe an exclusive here and there. I just don't think it's enough for.
Oh, I don't think it's going to make them more competitive or anything like that, or have a leg up on Sony. I definitely think that it is a huge thing to provide backwards compatibility, not for the owning companies of Microsoft and Sony, but for the studios, because you're increasing the longevity of games.
Yeah,
right.
You're no longer the next one's coming up. Let me go through my entire library and figure out what I'm going to trade in and just get rid of in order to go up to the next one. Otherwise, I was just okay, I'm just going to trade in just my console, and I get to still keep all my games that I may or may not want to replay.
I mean, honestly, I would love to be able to put in Mass Effect into my PS4 and play it. I would love to go to Final Fantasy 13, and play that, but I can't because they're not backwards compatible.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the best way to put it is like, it's if you were to go from the very beginning of Fable for Xbox, Fable came out pretty much. Well, it pretty much came out.
That's a pretty good example. I mean, if you want to
came
go
out
that far,
on every system.
First iteration.
First one was on Xbox. I think the second one was split, but I can't remember. But I know it did come out 360, and then Fable was 360.
And they did Fable remastered on 360.
Yeah, and you have Fable coming. Like, can you imagine having the new Xbox and just saying, you know what, let me play Fable from the beginning again, and you have that ability. That alone just brings back so much nostalgia. That brings back so much
Let's go one step further. Gears of War.
Yeah, Gears of War as well.
Yeah. Going from 1 to 5.
If this like pans out the way Microsoft wants it, this will definitely bring them back up into that, like, let me get an Xbox, and then now we have to search for games that have been in the past that were like
it's definitely one of those features that'll work in their favor when the new Xbox does come out.
It will increase the sales. It will increase like the overstock from before. And then because if you think about it, it's the same way with Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed was PlayStation 3. Assassin's Creed 2 is PlayStation 3, but then you go to PlayStation 4 and you're like, oh, like you can't go from 1 to Odyssey right now. You can't go all the way on one console. I mean, granted, this it depends on how much space like each one is is going to take, but the older consoles didn't need as much space as they do nowadays.
Right.
So you can play the entire Fable collection on one console.
Thanks a lot, Call of Duty Modern Warfare,
or every Call of Duty known to man from Xbox on.
I still don't think they have enough memory.
Oh no! They don't have enough storage space for all of that. But but here's the thing. To me, it's huge.
That is definitely like the kicker. That's definitely if this pulls off, like if they pull it off, this will definitely bring all the Xbox people buying that new Xbox console, getting all their old games back.
It's definitely a huge feature, and it's a good move. And it's very, it's one of those things that's pure exclusive Xbox because
and I think
PlayStation doesn't have, they don't have that, and that's one thing to keep over them. I think. It's a good move and it's very cool.
But could you imagine being able to play like something from the PlayStation 1, like the original Final Fantasy VII on the new PS5, and be like, oh man, like this is what it was like.
I mean, there's definitely a few things I would love to go back to, like the Sly Coopers and obviously Jack and Daxter's, like those.
Hey, if you want to go back to those, Jerry, just get yourself a Vita. You got it on the go.
The only handheld I have is the Switch.
The Parappa the Rapper, man, he's my homie.
Right?
Like he was only on the PlayStation 1.
I almost opened up with calling Jerry Parappa the Rapper.
He got bust of rhymes though,
right?
Spit some bars.
But to our points with the backwards compatibility, it's primarily a smart move to solidify people to upgrade, because that kind of reduces the cons in upgrading. Whereas like PS5, you really haven't narrowed it down with other than just a beefier system. Like I'm still gonna have to sacrifice more than just my money in order to get it. Whereas Xbox or Microsoft is removing that. I'm not sacrificing my other games in order to get it.
Now, here's the thing, though. To that point, though, too, is Microsoft has actually come out and said they're not going to have any Xbox Series X exclusive games for 2 years. So
Which is smart.
Which is one, it's smart, but I think two, though, is I think they're going to be relying on that Xbox One library to help get this system launched off the ground. Which I think that even though a lot of PlayStation fans have been clamoring for backwards compatibility because of I mean, you look at the library of games on the PS3 alone, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's huge, right?
That's mainly where I would be going to as well.
I would probably delve back into PS2 as well. There's some classic PS2 games out there, like Front Mission for me, another Square Enix title. But I think if rumors are true and there's almost 40 games ready that are being prepped for launch, around launch time of the PS5, I think that the lineup is gonna win the start of this whole thing.
I don't know, because I kind of feel like
go ahead.
I kind of feel like with that point, with it being a lineup, is almost like strong arming the customers by saying it's like, oh, there's this huge library that you're going to want to get. You absolutely must get this PS5. Whereas like Xbox is a little bit smarter with saying it's like, okay, we're going to ease into this. We're going to have this transition period between Xbox One and Xbox Series X, where you can immediately get it and just have the best performance that you want, but you can still kind of wait and still be getting some good games out of it.
I don't know. You give me Horizon Zero Dawn 2 at launch for PS5.
Well, you just reduced the needed library from 40 down to 1 for you to upgrade.
Yes.
I agree. Honestly, I kind of agree with Theo. I think it is a good move.
It's a great. I mean, I think it's a really great move, but
we saw that in PS3 and PS4, like with Last of Us, because Last of Us immediately got relaunched in PS4 within like a few weeks of PS4 coming out.
I think that's
and Grand Theft Auto, all of the bigger games. But the thing is, I think that's only going to be so much for Xbox. I think
it's only going to go so far.
I think it's only going to go so far, but I think your idea of the transition is, I think it is a smart move, but I also think it's kind of a big gamble because they're going in with this fresh console, and they're only going to, I think they're going to come out with a few exclusive games for the console, but also really rely on that backlog and hey, you can play all your old games.
I mean,
that's a gamble, and I think it's a good move, but it's a risky move.
You're gonna have Halo
as opposed
Infinite,
to Sony sticking to the old forum of like new console. We need a lineup of games. Like we need you know what I mean? I agree, but I also think more people are still looking towards the old way of like waiting for Sony to reveal the console and also see, okay, what games are they coming out? And then they'll look for like what features does it offer, as opposed to Xbox already showing what features it offers, but hasn't shown a lot of games that are going to specifically come out for that console.
Here's where I think it's a great thing that Microsoft is doing, is because it now eliminates that need for remasters. Like Theo mentioned, Last of Us, right? Last of Us Remastered, you don't need that type of thing anymore on the Xbox platform. So,
but
you look at PlayStation, though, you wouldn't have needed Shadow of the Colossus remastered.
But do you really? I mean, I think we need to base it off what we see first from the console, because it's going to get revved up. But a lot of those games needed to be remastered, like Shadow of Colossus, as you say. Or what about the Resident Evil games, man? Like, we wouldn't have had some of the features that made those games awesome now that we just got. Said you'd be playing the original engine.
Well, and that's true, too. I mean, I think you look at what Bluepoint does for a lot of the remasters, like they did with Uncharted, with Nathan Drake trilogy. And you look at how beautiful that remaster actually is.
Yeah.
Now you take something like Final Fantasy VIII remastered, and that was a joke of a remaster. And I think, honestly, the Xbox Series X would have done just fine with it, because all they did was upgrade the character sprites and left the backgrounds and everything else exactly the same. It was bad. It was half-ass. It was
a lazy move. Yeah.
Yeah,
I do have to say that Jerry makes a good point that it is a gamble, especially from like a fiscal standpoint, because like, one, if you're doing a transition, you're doing more of a I can't even think of the term, but you're going more for the long run for making your money out of it. Whereas if you're doing Sony's with, you got a big launch, you got this whole new upgrade, you're getting your profits like that really quick. You're going to be really getting your money raking in and everything. Whereas if you're doing that transition, you're kind of going to have to wait. You're going to be planning, you're doing like a 5-year plan, whereas Sony's might be more of a 1 year.
I think they could also be where it's a gamble, though, and I agree on that piece, is that you may be looking at it as needing, hey, here's our console, and we don't know prices yet, and I have a feeling that Microsoft is going to undercut Sony, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if it means putting the Xbox profits in red for a little while, but you may be going, hey, here's our console. This is everything it's going to do for you. Let's get you on into the Microsoft ecosystem. You're going to be able to play all these games.
That's exactly.
You're going to be introduced to all these Xbox exclusives like Fable, right? Halo,
right?
Forza, Gears of War. Some that honestly, if I could play Halo on a PlayStation, I'd be happy. If I could have Forza on a PlayStation, I'd be happy because those are great games. But when it comes down to it, is it a gamble that's going to end up like? I mean, it could be hurting them in the long run because you're going to have that transition of 2 years that you're saying there's going to be no exclusive games. So you're still going to have a current generation for 2 more years before they say.
That's the other thing. They're still going to be getting they're still going to get like a first run of day one, like not exclusive, but day one games like Valhalla. Obviously, there are, but those are going to be shared with the Sony release because the games that everyone's excited about, they're already going to be on both consoles.
Yeah.
Other than Sony's exclusives, which is why I think they have that just a little bit of a leg up.
But Matt actually sparks another good point, is that the ability to have that backwards compatibility opens the doors for people to either transition to Xbox or add it to their arsenal.
And
because of that backwards compatibility, you're getting a wide variety of a cheaper game library at the same time, because your transition overall is going to be cheaper because you can get those older games that can spark you into becoming a huge fan of Halo or Fable or Gears of War or everything if you were specifically Sony before.
And I think Matt said it best when he called it an ecosystem, because that's a very Apple like move where I think it's a good move for Xbox, getting someone hooked into the ecosystem of you can play Halo 1 and on and nonstop if you wanted to on this one console. You can go back to your backlog. Yeah, I mean, I get the appeal in that. And I think...
What are you talking about, Matt, doing a page out of Apple? Matt hates Apple. What are you talking about? He's all against it. It's not like he owns a single thing Apple-wise. As he shows off his AirPods, iPad, and goes off of his iMac right now.
Well, no, but I mean, that's what even Sony talks about as the PlayStation ecosystem, right? Because at one point, you had PS4, PS3, and Vita. Yeah. And Vita had that cross.
You guys are right on that point where they only have their PlayStation now, to where I kind of see the appeal of the Xbox side and having that whole encyclopedia of backlog where I can go back to Xbox original. I can't say Xbox One. I keep forgetting that. But original Xbox.
OG.
Yeah, OG Xbox.
OG.
Where, you can play Oddworld or all those other games, and then wait for the next big save up and wait for that next big game.
Here's what I would love to see, right? They did it in an article, but I would love to see a real life presentation of show me Halo 1, Halo 2. Even go as far as Halo 3.
I would want to see it.
Put them on, show me what they look like on the original console, then show me what they look like on Series X. Then turn around and show me what the updated Master Chief Collection looks like comparatively. Because
show me what you got.
Because what the Xbox One collection for the Master Chief did really well was you could switch between the original fidelity and the newer look.
Yeah,
where they went back and redid everything.
Because that's the biggest
really
question that I would have too.
How good is it
going
to look?
I would want to see the upscaling. Because if it at least upscales those original games to like what the Master Chief looked like, I would be blown away.
Yeah,
in every game that I played, I don't think
it's going to be that good. I don't think it's going to be that good.
But if it isn't that good, then I'm really not interested in buying the console. I'd rather wait.
Now, if it does, then it's like, dang, Microsoft really has put some work into this.
Yeah. You still gotta keep in mind with the things that they're boasting about, especially with the HDR. You have to keep in mind the other things that allow HDR to actually happen. You're gonna throw in your TV or monitor that has HDR. You're gonna be throwing in the specific cables, HDMI cables or display ports that can handle the HDR. You're hiking up that price in order to make that difference.
Which HDR varies between game and game, and that's the other thing is like you look at a lot of the PlayStation 4 games, right? I was running HDR in some games and turning it off in others because HDR did not look good. Case in point, MLB The Show. It looks better without HDR. So I have it turned off.
It depends because I mean, like more often than not, it's going to highlight your blacks and your contrast for that range. But
it does, but it made like the blues not look blue. It made it, and the purples not look as good. But then there's some games where HDR looks really, really, really good on it, like Horizon. But I think that's the point is HDR. You can't just apply the same thing to an older game and make it, good.
It kind of depends.
Really depends on the game.
You kind of can, but I mean, it's just like you said. It's going to add range to those specific colors in certain ways, and like maybe like when you couldn't see it back in the day, were because of certain pixels, and now it's going to highlight like, oh, the screen looks like puke now, whatever. But yeah, and still, it's going to be dependent on what level of HDR it comes out with too. Because I mean, there's HDR 10 and there's HDR 10 plus, and I think there's HDR 4. I can't remember, but I mean, not everything works.
I think when it comes down to it, though, Microsoft had to be bold this generation.
I agree. I think
they had to.
They're sticking to their guns, and I applaud them for that. They're like they're rolling the dice. They're taking a chance, and they're doing new things. They're trying new things. And
I love that. Yeah. And I love that since when Phil Spencer took over the reins of Xbox at that time, now he's kind of over, gaming, from a Windows and an Xbox perspective. But when he was given the reins, he's like, okay, we have to reverse a lot of things. We have to reverse this Kinect crap that everybody was forced with. And he immediately got rid of that, and Xbox all of a sudden saw a jump in sales. He also said, we got to reverse what Matrick did with that E3 presentation that said, hey, you got to always check in. I mean, they blew a lot of stock
they really
that people had in that. I mean, Matrick took them from being the number one console essentially at the time and tanked it.
Yeah.
They took all that stock and built up trust. So Phil Spencer cares about the gamers. You listen to him in his interviews, no matter who he's talking to, for him it's about the gamers. And I think that's why he's also trying to take the lead and go for cross-platform compatibility. Like you guys are being able to play Call of Duty, PS4 and PC, right? That is something that Phil is really pushing for, is just tear down those walls. It shouldn't matter what console you're on. You should all be able to play together, because I have friends that prefer Xbox and hate Sony. And whether that's because it's like, butter emails, it's like, a lot of people just hate it because it's just Sony. And a lot of people hate Microsoft because it's Microsoft. It has nothing to do with the console. And I think there's ups and downs to both consoles, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, from a shooter's perspective, the Xbox controller is by far the best controller
for first-person shooters. Yeah,
for first-person shooters by far.
Totally agree.
And it's just the way it's designed. It's just the way it is.
That was our selling pitch, Jason and I.
I mean, like,
That was our first question. Like,
yeah, they're like, oh, should I get a PlayStation or an Xbox? Yeah. And I always, this is my first thing. I was just
what
like,
game you playing?
No, I was like,
what game do you want to play?
No, do you play more shooters or no? And they're like, yeah, I like first-person shooters. Then you want to get an Xbox.
Get an Xbox.
And they're like, oh, I don't like shooters.
Like, I'm telling you, get an Xbox.
Yeah, I don't like shooters. Yeah. Oh, then get a PlayStation.
Now, I think where PlayStation has a huge upside is that more of their games are about the story.
Okay. No. Again.
You know.
Are you a shooter? No. That's not a shooter. So PlayStation.
Yeah,
right. I mean, no, and that's the thing is, you look at their lineup, right, and look at their big games. Yeah. It's all been about the story, right?
Yeah. So I mean, like to jump into with all this, like, you know, I don't like the fact that Xbox is going to have a 2-year gap of no exclusive titles. You know, I don't like that at all.
Well, what they're saying is no exclusive, like no console exclusives.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
You need to have at least one driving force that the competition doesn't have. You know, would Uncharted be like super? I mean, Uncharted alone is like great, but would it have been great as well being on the Xbox? You know,
no.
Like, I mean, like, but imagine it being on the Xbox though.
I don't want to.
Oh, but if you had that option,
hold on though. I would. I would like to see that, just on the simple fact that it would give more money to Naughty Dog, more money to any of those studios to keep giving us these great games.
Yeah, but at the same time too,
no,
it's PlayStation exclusive.
Jason's right.
You know, think of like all those things that. This is where Microsoft, they're going bold, they're going hard, they're hitting, they're throwing that right haymaker straight to the body, Jerry. It's going to be one of their things where if they hit it hard, they do it right, they're going to come out back stronger than ever. And to say that, hey, I'm not going to have any exclusives, that means that there's no rush for me to get this console for 2 years.
That would have been my thing with Jason's going right there. I don't have to go anywhere for 2 years.
Yeah, for 2 years I can get a PlayStation 5, sit, have fun with the PlayStation 5, and then come 2 years later think about getting an Xbox.
When the price drops.
When the the console gets more like confirmed, when there's no more red rings of death going on, etc., etc. You know, that's where I'm like saying, even as a Sony lover, as a PlayStation guy, I have zero interest now because there's no, I mean, other than the backwards compatibility, I have zero interest of getting an Xbox for the next 2 years.
At least.
Yeah. I mean, there's no point for me because I can get on PlayStation 5. Or I can get on the Switch. Whatever console that they're gonna like,
and what's funny is Jason just brings up a very valid point.
What's the point for 2 years?
Well, no, exactly, because then hold on, you said, well, then I can get it on the Switch, right? We know a lot of games are just all of a sudden showing up on Switch now. Look at Borderlands 3 is going to be on there. You've got the BioShock collection launching. You've got XCOM 2. You know,
Nintendo has finally grown up with us. So all the people that, there you go, matured.
Have you gone? Hold on. Have you looked at some of their games on the eShop? We're talking mature titles.
Yeah, we're getting mature, man.
Especially a lot of the indies. Yeah, they're. I mean, they're. A lot of the Japanese games. Really growing from a lot of the indies that they're.
Even still, though, like we've grown up with Nintendo. Nintendo's saying, okay, all the people that had Nintendo, they're this age now. So why are we still? We need to cater to them as well. So Nintendo's finally getting that M rating, like all over the place. You know, like before it was like, ooh, Nintendo's got an M rating, but now it's like, yo, like Bayonetta 3 is just around the corner.
Yeah,
Bayonetta 3 is right around the corner. You know how like scantily crazy everyone's like, oh my god, you play Bayonetta.
I feel like Jason's like almost sporting a semi talking about M rating in Nintendo right now.
Oh, dude, you know what? Like, he's going up, man. But it's
yeah, and
I can't, like, when you say that, yeah, no console exclusive for 2 years, then I'm just like, you know what? For 2 years, you're just gonna have a bunch of Xbox just sit on the shelf while other people try out these games on
that's why I think,
a
like, that's why I
different
keep
on
saying
their
it's a bold
console
move.
that they've been devoted to.
To Jason's point, though, it's like you don't have to wait. I mean, you can wait for 2 years because, like, for instance, you buy Cyberpunk, you know, on Xbox One X, right? You're going to be playing it in the current generation. Then, when you get your Series X, whenever that is, you're going to automatically be upgraded into the quote unquote higher definition game. I mean, so that doesn't make me rush to get the console.
Yeah, I don't have the TV to support
Halo, right?
UHR, HD, DVD, all this craziness.
Blu-ray 4K, you know,
Blu-ray HD, I mean,
you look at Halo, right? Halo Infinite is launching on Series X and Xbox One day one. So it doesn't matter what console you have, you're going to be playing Halo Infinite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, to me, you need to have a console driver, which is, I think, if Sony comes out and says, "Hey,
they should have kept Halo Infinite purely for."
Oh, that would have sold consoles right there.
Exactly. You could just like sell
Dude, you do
heck out of those consoles.
You do a Series X standard black console, whatever you want to do with it, and then you do a day one Halo Infinite edition.
Yeah.
Oh Series X, and that's the only way you can get Halo or whatever. It's there. So let's talk about Sony though. I mean, we know that there's rumors that we may be seeing more about games next week. I personally am hoping that they come out and say Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is going to be launching. You know,
I just want to see something on the 4th, and
I want to see something next week.
I want to see the console and maybe a couple games, but just show us the goddamn console, please.
Yeah,
get it over with. Pull the Band-Aid off.
Let's look at the state of play that happened yesterday.
State of play.
Yes.
Last of Us Part 2.
First one I actually watched because you guys told me to.
Right?
Oh my god, it was so good, dude. They talk about what an improvement of a game.
Let's cover the bases for those that haven't watched the state of play, which we'll have an article up this weekend covering some of this stuff, and we'll have the link out to the YouTube and stuff. So we already know it's a story about revenge. They've made that very, very clear from the trailers and everything. The story is going to start out in Jackson, Wyoming, with Joel and Ellie several years after the first game. Ellie is 19 now, so we've advanced probably 5 years, give or take.
Roughly.
You're going to have multiple locations, including Seattle. And they've gone to a lot of lengths to recreate some of these cities as they are right now. So they're pulling a page out of the Division playbook, almost.
Well, technically, they did that for the first one when they went to Boston.
Yeah, but they're doing it way better.
It's way more in depth because a lot of the play areas are much larger now.
Yep. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have climbing, you're gonna have jumping, you're gonna have ropes for traversal. Currently, right now up in Seattle, you're gonna have 2 major groups fighting. You've got the Washington Liberation Force, which was a uprising of a militia that challenged the military occupation during the quarantine, eventually taking over the area. Then you've got the Seraphites, aka the Scars, which are more the stealthy group. They're the ones that in the trailer. Yeah, they're the ones that were in the trailer that we all saw back at E3 that basically had the woman hung. And they were saying clipper wings. They were way more aggressive. So they did talk about the infected. So you're going to have runners, which are basically the first stage of infection. You're gonna have the clickers are back. You have stalkers, which will hide in the shadows and literally stalk you and then attack you. You've got a new class called Shamblers. There's other stages of infected. They said we're gonna have to wait to find out, which I love the fact that they're basically holding some stuff back.
Yeah,
as they should, you know.
You can break glass now on buildings to get into them to escape, which was fantastic.
It's also going to be definitely good for like the noise makers and stuff like that. That'll be crazy.
You can use enemies as shields. You can actually cause enemies to fight each other. So one of the things they showed in when they were talking about it,
I feel like you could do that in the first one too.
Not to this extent.
Technically, kind of like if you got lucky, if you
got lucky, and you had
it was more of a kind of a glitch, but everybody was like, why can't we do this?
Yeah, if you got lucky pulling a horde with you back to an enemy area if they were in the area, you know. So, and then when they showed off the extended gameplay, I mean, granted, it's a running joke on Twitter right now, but we got the Vita.
Yeah. I saw that immediately. Like, oh,
yeah, that was the first thing.
Matt playing.
Like, is that a Vita? Is she playing a Vita?
It is a Vita.
That's awesome.
So, what's funny is I saw a post about it. Is like, where did they find a charging cable in this whole, in this world to charge it, to charge it?
So, someone even figured out the game that she was playing.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they? I've not seen anything about
Someone
that.
figured out the game because they heard the music of the game and they were like, I know what that is.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
So we had Biggie.
I totally forgot.
I mean, there's very few Naughty Dog games that it could be.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't
but
surprise me.
I love all of the traversal. They took a huge page from Uncharted 4, you can tell. From adding a lot of the maneuvers and the evade button, like the juke, huge. That's going to be so huge.
And the fact that Neil Druckmann himself has said this is the biggest game they've ever worked on.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and from what the rumors, if they're true, it is 2 discs. It is Final Fantasy VII size.
Ooh, wow. That is going to be insane.
But knowing Naughty Dog like I do, I think we're going to get way more content out of 2 discs from Naughty Dog than we did from Square Enix.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean...
agreed.
Go ahead, Jason.
Oh, no, I just think it's just going to be like one of those things where it's like you do have to play the first one to understand everything that's going to be the second one.
I think
there's not going to be like this standalone or like you can kind of jump in.
No, you like if you haven't played the first one, you should, because the story and the reason you carry on that care to the second one is huge. Like,
and that's
the first game you go through a lot, and like that's why Naughty Dog is phenomenal.
It made me care.
Yeah,
it really made me care about what was going on. But it was also
one of those first games that got you like, But it was also one of those first games that like got you paranoid about your inventory. Yeah. Like you actually did feel like you were a survivalist. Like, oh crap! Like I don't.
You have 5 rounds.
Clickers. Yeah, like I'm gonna look around for more gear. You know, it was one of those games that really immersed you in the game, and it was obviously a great story too, and that's why it was as good.
Let's put it this way: it took what Resident Evil did originally with the whole survival horror thing, and you actually did have to still manage your inventory back then a little bit, and it took that and put it on its head and said, "Here, I'm giving you an injection of steroids," because I mean, it literally is that you can go a long ways without finding bullets. And you have to do some things.
But I just like that it's part 2 rather than Last of Us 2, because if you don't know part 1, if you don't know the first one, you're gonna be so lost. You're gonna still kind of enjoy it, but
you're not gonna care.
I don't think you'll necessarily be lost. I think you just won't have the same feeling towards everything that it's built up to. Because I think you can still go in without having anything, and you just kind of be all like, so who's this Joel guy or whatever? And
that's why
there's
you're not already invested into it. You're gonna say, okay, like this is a decent game, but being part 2, it's like, like I hope that it just ends here. I as much as I like continuation of stories like nonstop, there are some things that just need 1 or 2 parts. That's it. Kill Bill.
I actually agree.
Part 1, part 2.
I think Last of Us could have ended right there. It could have ended.
Yeah, but I think
the first
also,
one, I would have been happy with it.
You're given so many questions.
There was obviously territory to like explore, and I think that's what they wanted to do with the second one, and I think they chose the right path, and I think they purely listened to a lot of the fans and a lot of the gamers from the things that they added to it. I think this is going to be an amazing game, and depending on how it ends, I would be happy if it was the final. Like, I agree. Like, I wouldn't want this to be a continuing franchise. Like,
if it does continue, it needs to end as a trilogy. Done.
If that, yeah.
I mean, that's what I mainly respect from Naughty Dog as a production company in the first place. Like, their writers do a great job of making sure that there is just the right amount of closure in their games to make you want more, but not need it.
Yeah.
Like Uncharted 3. The way that ended, I would have been perfectly fine with that being the end of
same thing. I was actually
now granted
3, and I was super happy and excited to hear 4. But if they do a
4
5,
ended, didn't need 4.
Yeah, they didn't need 4, but adding to it, added to that. That was a good one. Like, okay, now I'm good. Now end it. I'm good.
You don't want to Star Wars it out, man. Like
Star Wars it out.
True.
Because I mean, like, if you feel it. If you feel it's going to be the trilogy, there's going to be that episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, where it's going to be the carryover, and you're going to be like left with more questions. You're going to be like, okay, this is a great game, but I mean, what's going to happen now? We're waiting right now for Final Fantasy 7 Part 2, and like, who knows when that's going to be coming out? Hopefully in a couple years.
Just when Jerry gets really, really mad and needs to bet about apologizing to Square Enix, will it come out?
Like, they're literally like, all the producers, all the companies right now are just drawing us in with that fishing reel line, and we're just like, some of them you just like catch a release. That's it.
Don't get me started on Final Fantasy 7 tonight. Is that
We're going to, baby.
So let's deal with it then. So. Let's find out what Theo's been playing.
I've been playing more PC. I've been getting used to keyboard and mouse. I'm getting pretty good at it too.
No way.
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
I played me some rounds of core and hardcore on Modern Warfare with keyboard and mouse.
Oh, nice.
I stayed positive for most of them. There was one match I did keyboard and mouse with Jerry, and Jerry rocked it. On a hardcore match, he killed it.
Ooh.
Like, I got 7 kills. He got 27.
Hey, Magic Man.
The sun does shine. The sun does shine sometimes.
Shake and bake.
Yes. A blind squirrel finds nuts eventually.
Yes.
Oh, you're funny.
Even if he has to go between his legs, he'll find some nuts.
Oh. No, man. See, that's why I'm happy to go back to basics. No boosters. No.
Yeah, that feels so much better without all that jumping around and everything. Yeah. And I love the integration of the mount aspect of it. So at least you got more realism. You can do your corners better and everything like that. So I've been having fun with that. I am on and off with FF7. I've been doing some MTG. And on and off with Resident Evil 2.
Nice.
How far into FF7 are you?
I'm still on chapter 3.
Okay. All right, Jerry.
Oh.
Okay, so I've gotten a little distracted. So I got a little distracted. I
We
haven't played.
round out the posse.
Huh?
We're gonna round out the posse.
No, I actually haven't been playing that. It's a little worse.
Tell everybody.
Worse than Red Dead?
Yes.
Worse than
Yes,
Red
it
Dead?
is. Tell them what you did. Tell them what you did.
So I got really bored, and I really just wanted something new. And I'm not gonna lie, this was such an impulse buy because I saw the trailer on YouTube, so I just bought it. I bought Saints Row the Third remastered.
The third, not even the fourth?
No, because that was the crappy one. The third was the best one. That's why it got remastered. But yeah, so now I'm kind of forcing myself to like finish it.
Oh my god!
It was such an impulse buy. It was
Dude, I actually almost wish you were playing Red Dead than that.
I know. It was such a bad move. I knew I should, like, as soon as I got it, I was like, yeah, this is gonna feel really like dated, and it kind of still is, but I'm gonna finish it because I bought it.
You need to finish Final Fantasy 2, sir.
I know that's what
Because we got to get back on the Sekiro challenge, bro.
Yes, you do.
Oh god.
All right, Jason.
I'm trying to finish up hard mode right now. I think I'm on chapter 13 or 14. I've been playing a lot. Ironically, I've been playing a little bit more Final Fantasy 7 than 14.
Ooh.
Oh.
14's on a rough patch right now.
That's because you're still waiting for DLC to come out, right? When's that coming out?
The new patch. Yeah.
When's that coming out again?
It's coming out there's no set date, but they're saying that it's going to be like sometime in the summer.
Oh.
The reason why is because of the COVID-19.
Yeah.
The COVID crisis.
That makes sense.
So there's no set date, but they're still saying, yeah, like it's going to be coming out hopefully in the summer. You know, we want to make sure everybody's okay first, which, you know, makes sense. Like I want them to be okay so then they can keep making content for me. I've gotten a few games. I might start Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PC. Yeah, like it was. Yeah, because it was on Epic Games. So you know, shout outs to Epic Games, by the way. I know you don't like
they
it,
do
Matt,
they do some great deals though.
but right now, yeah,
Epic comes out with great deals.
They have a lot of good deals. Like
Yeah,
I'm able to pick up Grand Theft Auto for free right now. Sid Meier's Civilization 6, I believe, is out for free, and I'm like,
Enjoy it, bro.
I can't say no to a free game, man. Like I can't. I can't. Even if I haven't even touched it yet, I can't play. I can't say no.
But you said no to Farm Simulator. That was a free game on PSN, man. What's up? It's a free game.
See, this is the thing. I don't have many friends that I could play with on PlayStation Network.
We're talking about farmers are so lonely. They farm on their own.
So I don't even
you
have
can do
PlayStation
it.
Plus. Yeah,
That's because you just don't play the games that we play, bro.
Exactly. I'm not a shooter guy. That's why I bought a PlayStation. Come on, man. Come on, man.
But yeah, dude, enjoy Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
So I did a thing kind of equally as bad as Jerry.
Oh no.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm not on the hot seat anymore.
Newman, be prepared, please.
Get
Matt for this. Whatever it is,
get Matt.
Newman's gonna rip me one, dude.
Yeah.
Really?
I bought,
bro? Really?
Yeah, I bought Need for Speed Heat.
Oh god.
It was.
I mean, it's
it was on
bad
sale.
Need for Speed, but I mean, like,
Another
it's not
race.
as bad as Saint Row in my book.
It's a Need for Speed. It's got some okayness.
It's got something to offer.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
It has a little okayness, and I want to give it a little bit more to get into it, but it's not as good as Undercover or Most Wanted. You know, it's kind of a little bit has more of that online connectivity to it as well that the Need for Speed that came out a couple of years ago had as well. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Finished Final Fantasy VII Remake, a.k.a. Kingdom Hearts 3.5, a.k.a. Breath of the Wild.
Okay. AKA, let's throw everything in that people wanted because it's what they waited for, and we have no other reason why not to put it into the game because everyone wanted to see this fight.
So here's my thing with it. Yeah. So here's my thing with FF7. And to our listeners, Jason and I are going to be doing 2 articles. So Jason's going to do one. I'm going to do one for FF7 Remake and our opinions on it and get them on the website.
Now that Matt's done and I can talk to him about it.
Here's my thing. The fact that you went Legend of Zelda with this game actually ticks me off.
How so Legend of Zelda?
Okay.
Jerry, you're not done yet, so I can't talk to you, man. Like
we can. We're past the statute of limitations on this.
Okay.
We are way past statute of limitations.
Okay.
You're equating the ending of FF7 to the
ending
of Breath of the Wild right now?
No. You're gonna get spoiler alert like hardcore right now. Like you're gonna be like, what the heck?
It's not as it's big. So Breath of the Wild, right? It cannot make up what timeline it is actually in.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay? Right.
According to the writers, it takes place after Ocarina of Time and Link is lost. However, if you actually pay attention to the game, it actually takes place after Wind Waker because you find rock salt in places where there should not be any rock salt. Rock salt is only going to be where lakes are. And the areas that they're found in match up exactly with where Wind Waker was. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it really can't make up what timeline it's in. This one, it basically is trying to tie itself into Advent Children, but says, "Hey, if we lose this battle, this is what's going to happen tomorrow." So basically, they're going, and it's actually the ultimate. What is the Ultimate Guide or whatever they're published over in Japan? Ultimanium. Yeah. Ruined it and actually literally said this game is taking place in a different timeline. Mm-hmm. Than the original.
So technically, if you lose, it's a.
If you were to lose the fight at the end of Remake, which you can't because it's just
right.
Story.
But in theory, if you in the story, if you lost this fight, it would go to this timeline.
It goes down the original FF7 line. Correct.
Okay, but then winning, you're going to this other timeline that everyone's kind of upset about.
Correct.
It's. To put it into a nutshell, all of the Final Fantasy VII games that have been made, Crisis Core, or all the Final Fantasy VII universe,
Advent Children,
Core, Advent Children, Dirge of Cerberus, like all the things that you can think of, they're hinting that all those games are connected. So all those games are going to be like clips here, clips there, clips here.
Oh, okay.
If you screw this up, this is what's gonna happen.
And it's gonna be a Final Fantasy 13.
I'm not gonna really name it, but a character.
Oh, I will name it.
From you want to go, Zach?
I will throw it down because that guy only needed. He didn't need like a full 3 minutes of airtime. He only needed maybe 30 seconds. Then he'd be like, oh, man, who's that guy? Like, Zach, oh, dang. But he has this whole, little story. This whole, 3-minute, 5-minute story at the end. And
he gets his own little scene, his own little video clip.
You don't, yes, cool. He's alive. Oh, my God. But just why? So many things. I was like, oh man, we could do a whole podcast about talking about it. I will
Now, granted, there are some things I absolutely love about the game, but the fact that they're trying to change timelines and say this is a different timeline and all of that is just, it's so Square Enix. I hate to say it.
Yeah, it's not even the timelines. It's
that whole chapter 18. It felt like I was in a Kingdom Hearts game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
And I was fighting the darkness.
I mean, you do fight the darkness.
That's what it felt like.
The fates and stuff like that.
I was waiting for freaking, Baymax to show up and say, hey, I'm going to be your summon and I'm going to go, do some damage or wreck a Ralph or something.
I am your healthcare provider.
That'd be kind of cool, though.
Right?
That would be kind of
cool.
I wouldn't want him to say I'm your caregiver. I want to say fluffy.
Let's talk about one of these days. We're gonna talk about that.
Yes.
Like I said, I told you, Matt. I told you you would text me, you would call me because I know for sure.
Yeah.
That you would be like.
Now that being said, I want to see where they're going with this, but now they've pretty much taken everything and cleaned out the kitchens, the kitchen cabinets, and said, "Hey, we're starting over." So outside of that, played a little bit more MLB The Show.
Nice.
My last series of the season before I move into the playoffs. Watching
I was about to say,
those Dodgers.
Those
Dodgers got knocked straight out of the playoffs.
Oh, whatever.
Just so many resets, I bet.
No. Honestly, they were all like, it was all the computer doing its thing. And then Cody was kind of wanting to play a little bit. And I kind of started playing Journey a little, and I was like, Journey just wasn't for me, even though Journey is a great, it's a beautiful game. But so I downloaded Disney Infinity 3.0 and put that on my console for him.
Yeah.
And he is loving it. So yeah, he's switching out characters and whatnot. And
I still have Infinity figures.
Does that bring a blast to the past for you guys? Just a little soft spot.
How we met,
right?
Man.
Like maybe
exactly
here, right here.
I still have. That's what I still have is all the Avenger ones.
I still have all of mine.
Right here in the heart, right there. No,
yeah.
No, maybe over here. Yeah.
So he's been playing.
Can't find your heart, Jason. You don't know where it is.
No, I'm just trying to that way you can see me in the shot. I'm zooming. I'm wigging out right now on my couch.
Yep. So.
Oh God, I missed that. I really do miss Infinity.
So yeah, I fired it up and he's been playing it. He was having fun with it, just switching out characters. And I mean, that was his bigger thing. He was having more fun switching out characters and going Baymax, So let's end tonight on this very note. We have some voicemails.
Yay! So
some voicemails.
Let's go with the first one.
Let's go, viewer mail.
Number 1.
I am so disappointed in you, Jason. I can't believe you didn't know the yogurt reference. Matt's been talking about it for weeks. You should have gone and done your research as a true nerd would have. Theo, you've redeemed yourself because now that you've watched Top Gun, you're becoming a maverick and scheduling your own vacation without regards to what the schedule actually says. Good job, man.
Yes.
I take the hit and Theo gets the win.
Awesome.
So
it's okay. Hey, you know what?
Theo for the win.
That was my bad. It was seriously just nonstop. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yep.
Well, that's kind of not your fault. You don't watch movies.
No, I don't. But it's okay. I dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah.
I own it up. Own up on it. But dang, Newman, you on it. You killing it.
Right. Newman's always on it.
Yeah, Newman's always on it, man.
Yeah.
Dang.
So we've got one more for you. Yep.
Yes.
Jerry, you might be a youngling, but I don't think you're going to be a Jedi. You might make it to Padawan, but you're definitely not a Jedi.
What? Hey, Padawan's the way to the Jedi. Oh, man.
I don't know how to feel about that. I disagree, sir. I disagree.
I don't know. I kind of agree with Newman.
What? You don't think I would be a Jedi?
Easy, Anakin. Easy.
Oh.
Don't make me start calling you Jar Jar.
He's still a powerful Jedi. Anakin.
Jar Jar?
Jar Jar was a powerful Jedi.
Hey, Jar Jar is Sith.
Jar Jar is a Sith Lord. You don't know, bro.
What are you talking about? Jar Jar started the whole war.
That's the whole thing. There's actually fan theory.
I know there
is. That Jar Jar is a Sith and whatnot. So, yeah.
We've just completely forgotten about Jar Jar. He doesn't exist.
He needs to be
the
erased from history.
Gungans exist, Jar Jar does not.
And
he ruined the prequels.
And with that, I want to say to all our listeners, thank you for crashing game night with us once again. Make sure you're leaving those comments on anchor.fm so we can play those during the podcast, taking your shots at any one of us.
No.
It is free game.
It is
And,
hard to practice.
Yep. Make
Free
sure to
game.
follow us on, crashinggamenight.com, at CGM Podcast on Twitter. We also have our Facebook page. Please make sure to leave those comments. They do help us out in those rankings. I want to say, everyone, be excellent to each other and stay frosty.
That's right, all my fellow nerds. Stay frosty, stay cool, stay safe from that COVID, that angsty, deadly COVID. Everyone, be nice to each other. Stay safe, and thank you all for listening. And please bring in those phone calls and those messages. We want to hear from all of you around the world, please.
Okay,
thank you all for joining us.
Jason?
Thank you again for joining us tonight. Shout outs to all y'all. Can't wait for 2 weeks till we get that Last of Us, that's going to be the new game. Wow, me and my wife are already excited.
3 weeks, sir. 3 weeks.
Well, just about 2-3 weeks. Depends on when you hear this.
Right. We know math isn't your strong suit.
It's not yours either.
But anyways, shout outs to all y'all. Thank you very much for listening to us. Hey, shout outs again. Newman. You got
Keep
me.
Keep them coming, Newman.
You got me. You got me.
And I disagree with you, Newman.
You got me.
I would be a great Jedi Knight.
Prove it.
You got me, man.
Prove it.
I'd happily prove it.
That being said, Theo, send us out like only you can.
Thanks for joining, guys. TTFN. Ta-ta for now.
Night, everybody.
May the force be with you.